The photograph glowed on her phone screen like a wound that wouldn't stop bleeding. Her husband, Richard Ashford, stood on a red carpet in Manhattan, his hand resting possessively on another woman's waist. The blonde in the white gown smiled at him, like she owned him. Maybe she did. The caption underneath read, "Ashford Industries power couple stuns at Metropolitan Arts Gala." Gabrielle's hands trembled as she held the device. The penthouse around her felt suddenly smaller, the walls closing in. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, Chicago's skyline glittered with indifference. Somewhere in that maze of steel and glass, her husband was building an empire, and she was the secret he kept locked away in their ivory tower. "Can we talk about this, Richard?" Her voice came out barely above a whisper. He didn't even glance up from his laptop. The blue light cast shadows across his angular face, making him look like a stranger. Talk about what? She crossed the marble floor, each step echoing in the cavernous space. This. She held up the phone, her hands shaking so badly the image blurred. "You and her, at the gala. You told me it was business only." Richard sighed, the kind of exhale that said she was interrupting something important. "It was business. Victoria represents our largest investor. Optics matter, Gabby. I'm your wife." He finally looked at her then. His eyes held no warmth, no recognition of the woman who had rearranged her entire existence to fit into his world. "And she's the face people expect to see." The words landed like a physical blow. Gabrielle opened her mouth, but her throat had closed around the scream building there. Richard stood, adjusting his Rolex with practiced precision. "You don't photograph well with the brand, Gabrielle. That's just reality. Have you ever been erased by the person who swore to cherish you? Have you ever watched someone parade your replacement in public while you raise their child in private? What would you do if the man you loved told you that you weren't good enough to be seen? Stay with me, because what Gabrielle does next will remind you that sometimes the most powerful thing a woman can do is remember who she was before someone convinced her to disappear." Welcome to True Spark Stories. While you're here, please tell us where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. 6 years earlier, Gabrielle Monroe had been someone. A principal dancer with the Chicago Contemporary Ballet, her name appeared in reviews that used words like ethereal and commanding. When she moved across a stage, audiences held their breath. Her body told stories in ways words never could, each arabesque a declaration, every grand jeté an act of defiance against gravity itself. The night she met Richard Ashford, she had just finished performing a solo piece at a charity auction. The applause still rang in her ears as she stepped off stage, her body humming with the particular electricity that came from a flawless performance. She was reaching for a glass of champagne when a voice behind her said, "That was extraordinary." She turned. The man standing there wore a suit that probably cost more than she made in a month. Tall, broad-shouldered, with the kind of confidence that came from never having been told no. His smile was warm, but his eyes assessed her with the same intensity he probably used in boardrooms. "Thank you." She accepted the champagne he offered. "Richard Ashford." He extended his hand. "Gabrielle Monroe." His grip was firm, lasting a beat longer than necessary. "I'd very much like to take you to dinner." She should have said no. She should have recognized the look in his eyes, the way men looked at things they wanted to acquire. But she was 28 and tired of struggling, of cramming into shared dressing rooms, and calculating whether she could afford both groceries and new pointe shoes. Richard represented something different. Security, comfort, a world where she wouldn't have to choose. So she said yes. The courtship moved with the speed of a man accustomed to closing deals. Flowers arrived at the theater after every performance, always roses, always red. He took her to restaurants where the waiters knew his name, where the wine cost more than her rent. He told her she was brilliant, mesmerizing, unlike anyone he'd ever met. She fell. How could she not? He made her feel seen in a way she'd never experienced. When Richard looked at her, she felt like the only person in the room. 6 months later, he proposed at a company retreat in front of 200 of his colleagues and investors. The ring was enormous, a flawless diamond that caught the light and threw it back like a challenge. She said yes because she loved him, because the fairy tale was supposed to end with the proposal, because she believed that love could bridge the distance between their worlds. They married 3 months after that, in a ceremony that felt more like a corporate event than a celebration. His family attended but spoke to her in the polite, distant way people address service staff. Her own family seemed uncomfortable, surrounded by so much wealth, so many white faces, so much casual opulence. Still, she told herself it would be okay. Love conquered all, didn't it? The first year held moments of happiness. Richard was attentive when his schedule allowed. He liked watching her prepare for performances, liked the way people noticed her when they entered rooms together. "My wife, the dancer," he'd say with pride in his voice. But then came the pregnancy. Gabrielle discovered she was carrying their child during the fall season. She was preparing for her lead role in a contemporary reimagining of Swan Lake when the nausea became impossible to ignore. The test showed 2 pink lines that, changed everything. Richard's reaction was immediate. "You'll need to take a break from dancing, just until after the baby." It made sense. Her body was already changing, and the role was demanding. She stepped back, promising herself it was temporary. But after Noah was born, the temporary break extended indefinitely. The company couldn't hold her position forever. Roles she'd worked years to earn went to other dancers. Her understudy became the principal. Meanwhile, Richard's company expanded. Ashford Industries acquired 3 competitors in 18 months. His face appeared on the covers of business magazines. He traveled constantly: New York, Los Angeles, London, Dubai. And Gabrielle stayed home in their penthouse with Noah, watching her husband's life grow larger while hers contracted to the space between nursery and kitchen. The first gala she missed, Richard made it sound reasonable. "Noah's so young. You should stay with him. My mother offered to babysit, but you know how attached he is to you." She agreed because he was right. Noah was only 4 months old and still nursing every few hours. It made sense for her to stay home. But when she saw the photos the next morning, Richard on the red carpet alone, smiling for cameras, looking completely comfortable without her, something uncomfortable twisted in her chest. The second gala, he didn't even ask. Just told her he was going. By the 4th, he brought Victoria Sinclair. "She's a consultant," Richard explained when Gabrielle questioned it. "Represents our investors. Good for networking." Victoria was everything Gabrielle wasn't. Blonde where Gabrielle was dark. Slender in that angular way that came from expensive trainers and careful eating. White. Always impeccably dressed in designer gowns that photographed beautifully. And she was always there. At galas. At investor dinners. In the background of Richard's social media posts, tastefully cropped but unmistakably present, Gabrielle stopped asking to attend events. The penthouse became her entire universe, beautiful and suffocating in equal measure. 3,200 square feet of marble and glass overlooking Lake Michigan. a nursery decorated in soft grays and whites by an interior designer whose name appeared in Architectural Digest. Everything perfect, everything expensive, everything cold. Her days developed a numbing rhythm. Wake to an empty bed. Richard left by 6 most mornings. Feed Noah. Play with Noah. Read to Noah. Her son became her anchor and her entire world. She poured everything into him, all the love and energy and creativity she used to channel into dancing. But at night, after Noah slept, the silence was devastating. She tried once to reclaim her husband's attention. Put on the red lingerie he used to love, lit candles, waited in their bedroom wearing nothing but lace and hope. Richard came home after 11, saw her, and paused in the doorway. "I'm exhausted, Gabby." He kissed her, forehead like she was a child. "Let's do this another time." He slept in the guest room. She cried into her pillow, muffling the sound so Noah wouldn't wake. The erasure happened gradually, like watching a photograph fade in sunlight. You don't notice until the image is almost gone. Richard stopped introducing her at the rare events she did attend, stopped posting photos of her, stopped mentioning her in interviews. When business associates asked about his family, he'd smile vaguely and say, "I keep my private life private." She became invisible, a footnote, a secret. Her body changed too. Not dramatically, but enough. The muscle definition she'd maintained through years of training softened. She gained weight, 20 pounds that settled on her hips and thighs. She noticed. Richard noticed. He never said anything directly, but she felt it in the way his eyes slid past her, the way he stopped touching her. One night, she stood in front of their bathroom mirror, really looking at herself for the first time in months. Her face was still beautiful. She could see that objectively. High cheekbones, full lips, warm brown skin that still glowed despite the exhaustion. But her eyes looked defeated. When had that happened? "Who are you?" she whispered to her reflection. The woman staring back didn't answer. Her old life slipped away, like water through fingers. Friends from the ballet stopped calling after their invitations went unanswered enough times. She stopped maintaining the relationships because maintaining anything beyond Noah felt impossible. Only Clara remained. Clara Martinez had been her roommate before Richard, back when they'd shared a cramped apartment in Logan Square and survived on ramen between paychecks. Clara was still dancing, still living the life Gabrielle had walked away from. She showed up at the penthouse one afternoon, unannounced, took one look at Gabrielle and frowned. "When's the last time you left this place?" Gabrielle bounced, Noah on her hip. "I don't know. Grocery store a few days ago?" Clara walked past her into the living room, her footsteps loud against the marble. "This place is gorgeous." She turned in a slow circle, and suffocating. "It's fine." "You're not fine." Clara crossed her arms. "Where's Richard?" "Work." "He's always at work." Gabrielle didn't respond. What could she say? That her husband's company mattered more than she did? That she'd become a placeholder in her own marriage? Clara's expression softened. "Gabby, you used to light up stages. Now you look like you're disappearing." "I'm just tired." "No." Clara stepped closer. "You're being erased." The word hung in the air between them, heavy with truth. Gabrielle's throat tightened. "I have everything I need. Except yourself." That night, after Clara left, Gabrielle stood in front of the mirror again, looked at herself, really looked. Her face was still her own. Her body had changed, but was still hers, still capable of movement, of power. She touched her reflection, fingers meeting glass. Somewhere deep inside, beneath the exhaustion and defeat and resignation, a small voice whispered, "Find out who you are again." The breaking point came on a Tuesday afternoon in early November. Gabrielle was scrolling through her phone while Noah napped, not looking for anything in particular. Just passing time in that mindless way people do when they're trying not to think. Then she saw it. A post from Chicago Style magazine. Metropolitan Arts Gala highlights. She clicked. The first image stopped her breath. Richard in a black tuxedo, looking like he'd stepped out of a cologne advertisement. And beside him, her arm linked through his, was Victoria Sinclair in a white gown that probably cost more than Gabrielle's wedding dress. They were both smiling at the camera like they belonged together, like they were the couple everyone expected to see. The caption read, "Ashford Industries CEO, Richard Ashford and strategic partner Victoria Sinclair dazzle at the Metropolitan Arts Gala." Strategic partner. Gabrielle scrolled. 12 photos in the gallery. Victoria appeared in 11 of them, always at Richard's side, laughing, leaning in close. In one shot, his hand rested on the small of her back, proprietary and intimate. Something cracked open in Gabrielle's chest. She clicked on Victoria's tagged profile. Public, full of carefully curated glamour, rooftop bars, private jets, designer everything. And scattered throughout, photos with Richard, dinner meetings, office events, charity functions, all dated within the last 6 months. Gabrielle's hands shook as she typed a text. I saw the photos from the gala. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, it was a work event. Her fingers flew across the screen. You didn't tell me you were going. It was last minute. Who is she? I told you. A partner. She represents a key investor, optics matter. That word. Again. Optics. Like their marriage was a branding problem to solve. I'm your wife, she typed. 5 minutes passed before his response came. And she's good for business. Don't make this bigger than it is. Gabrielle set the phone down before she threw it. She walked to their bedroom, opened the closet, pulled out the box from the top shelf. Inside were remnants of her dancing life. Performance photos, programs, reviews, a pair of pointe shoes she'd saved. She held one of the shoes. The satin was worn, the toe darkened from hours of use. She used to be someone. She used to matter beyond her utility as a mother, as a decorative wife hidden away in a penthouse. She put the shoe back, but left the box on the bed. Something was shifting inside her, tectonic plates moving after years of stillness. Richard came home late that evening. She was in the kitchen, wiping down counters after Noah's dinner. He walked in, loosening his tie. Hey. She didn't turn around. Hey. He opened the refrigerator, grabbed a bottle of imported water. How was your day? She almost laughed at the casual domesticity of the question, like they were a normal couple, like he hadn't just paraded another woman around Manhattan while keeping his actual wife locked away. Fine. Good. He started toward the stairs. Richard. He stopped. Yeah? I saw the photos from the gala. His shoulders tensed. Gabrielle, we already talked about this. No. She turned to face him. You dismissed me. What do you want me to say? I want you to tell me the truth. I did. Who is she? Really? His jaw tightened. I told you. A business partner. Then why does she look at you like that? Like what? Like she's more than business. He actually laughed, a sharp, cruel sound that cut through the kitchen. You're being paranoid. Am I? Yes. You're home all day with nothing to do but overthink. The word slapped her. Nothing to do. I'm raising your son, she said, quietly. And I'm providing for him. For you. For all of this. He gestured around the penthouse like it was a gift she should be grateful for, rather than the beautiful cage it had become. She stepped closer. I didn't ask for this. You didn't complain when you moved in. Because I thought you loved me. The silence that followed was louder than any answer. Finally, he spoke, his voice low and cold. I think you need to adjust your expectations, Gabrielle. What does that mean? It means this is my world, my career, my image. And right now, Victoria fits that image better than you do. Her breath caught. What? You've let yourself go. He said it like he was commenting on the weather. You don't take care of yourself the way you used to. And frankly, you're not the kind of woman people expect to see on my arm anymore. The room tilted. Say that again, she whispered. He exhaled like she was exhausting him. You don't photograph well with the brand, Gabrielle. That's reality. Victoria does. So yes, I bring her to events because she's an asset. He paused, and what came next destroyed something fundamental inside her. And you're a liability. The word hung in the air like poison. Gabrielle stared at the man she'd married, the one she'd reshaped her entire existence for. He looked at her like she was a problem to manage, a PR disaster to contain. She didn't yell, didn't cry, didn't beg. She just nodded. Okay. Richard blinked, surprised by her calm. Okay? Yeah. She turned back to the sink. Okay. He stood there for a moment, uncertain. Then he left. She heard his footsteps on the stairs, heard the guest room door close. Only then did she let herself break. She gripped the edge of the granite counter and sobbed as quietly as she could, so Noah wouldn't wake, so Richard wouldn't hear. She cried until there was nothing left. And then, in the silence that followed, something inside her hardened into resolve. She wiped her face, looked at her reflection in the window, and whispered, "No more." If you're still watching up to now, type "I'm still here" in the comment section and tell us your view. What would you have done in Gabrielle's place? The next morning, Noah woke her with tiny hands patting her face. Mama. She opened her eyes. He was smiling, that pure, uncomplicated joy only children possess. Hi, baby. Hungry? She kissed his forehead and got up. Richard was already gone. No note, no text, no acknowledgement of the nuclear bomb he'd dropped the night before. She made Noah breakfast, fed him, played cards with him on the living room floor. But her mind was somewhere else, turning over possibilities, calculating what it would take to remember who she'd been before she became Mrs. Richard Ashford. After Noah's nap bunch, she made a phone call. Clara answered on the second ring. Hey, love. Gabrielle took a breath. I need your help. Anything. What's going on? I need to remember who I was before him. Clara went quiet. Then her voice came back, strong and sure. Say less. I'm coming over. An hour later, Clara arrived with coffee and a canvas bag full of old dance magazines. They sat on the living room floor while Noah played with his blocks nearby. Clara pulled out a magazine from 5 years ago, flipped it open to a full-page spread. There was Gabrielle, captured mid-leap, arms extended, face fierce and completely free. Look at her, Clara said softly. Gabrielle stared at the photo. The woman frozen in that moment looked powerful, certain, alive. I don't even recognize her. Because you've been hiding her. Clara reached over and took her hand. But she's still in there, Gabby. You just have to start moving again. I can't. My body's different now. So what? You think only perfect bodies get to dance? Clara squeezed her hand. Your body carried life. It's stronger than it's ever been. You just forgot. Gabrielle's eyes filled with tears. What if I try and I can't do it anymore? Then you'll know. But what if you try and remember your magic? That night, after Clara left, Gabrielle stood in the middle of the living room. Noah was asleep. The penthouse was silent except for the distant hum of the city below. She pulled up an old playlist on her phone, songs she used to warm up to, melodies that used to make her body ache to move. The first notes filled the space. Slow, haunting piano. She closed her eyes. Then tentatively, she lifted her arms. Her body remembered before her mind did. Her feet shifted, her hips swayed, her spine curved in ways that felt foreign and familiar all at once. It wasn't perfect. Her balance was off. Her muscles protested. But it was hers. She moved through the living room like a woman waking from a long sleep. Hesitant at first, then bolder. Her breath deepened. Her heart opened. And for the first time in over a year, she felt something other than resignation. She felt alive. When the song ended, she stood still, chest rising and falling. She caught her reflection in the window, hair wild, face flushed, eyes bright. She didn't look like a liability. She looked like a woman who'd been buried and was starting to claw her way out. The next morning, she called her old instructor. Miriam Rosen answered with characteristic warmth. Gabrielle Monroe, I was wondering when I'd hear from you. Gabrielle smiled despite herself. Hi, Miriam. You coming back? Gabrielle hesitated. I don't know if I can. Can't or won't. I'm not the same. Good. Miriam's laugh was rich. Same is boring. I'm scared. Of what? That I've lost it. That I won't be good enough. Good enough for who, sweetheart? Gabrielle went quiet. Miriam continued, her voice gentle but firm. You don't dance to be good enough for anyone, Gabrielle. You dance because it's who you are. And whoever told you otherwise lied to you. Gabrielle's throat tightened. Wrote, I want to come back. Then come back. Tuesday and Thursday, 6 a.m. Don't be late. I won't. She hung up and sat there, phone in hand, feeling something she hadn't felt in years. Possibility. Tuesday came fast. Gabrielle woke at 5, dressed in old leggings and a sports bra, pulled her hair into a bun. She looked at herself in the mirror. Her body was different. Softer in some places, stronger in others. But it was hers. She kissed Noah's sleeping face and left before Richard stirred in the guest room. The studio was on the south side, small and worn with wooden floors that had absorbed years of sweat and dreams. Miriam was already there, stretching at the bar. She looked up when Gabrielle walked in. There she is. Gabrielle smiled nervously. Here I am. Miriam stood and walked over, looked her up and down. You look good. I look different. Different isn't bad. She gestured to the bar. Let's start slow. Just remember what your body knows. Gabrielle moved to the bar, placed her hand on the smooth wood. It felt like coming home. Miriam put on music, and Gabrielle began. Plié, tendus, rond de jambe. Her muscles ached, her balance wavered. But she didn't stop. After an hour, she was dripping sweat, breathing hard but smiling wider than she had in months. Miriam walked over. How do you feel? Gabrielle wiped her face. Alive. Good. That's the only thing that matters. Gabrielle looked at her reflection in the mirror. Flushed, messy, strong. She didn't look invisible. She looked undeniable. Over the next few weeks, Gabrielle rebuilt herself piece by piece. She woke early, trained hard, came home before Noah woke. Richard didn't notice or didn't care. He was too busy with work, with Victoria, with maintaining the carefully curated life that didn't include his wife. Gabrielle stopped waiting for him to see her. She started seeing herself. She went to the salon, not the expensive one Richard's assistant recommended, but the one she used to go to in her old neighborhood. The stylist, Shauna, greeted her with a wide smile. "Girl, where have you been?" Gabrielle sat in the chair, lost. "But I'm back." Shauna studied her in the mirror. "What are we doing today?" Gabrielle met her own eyes. "I want my hair back. Natural, bold, mine." Shauna grinned. "Say less." 3 hours later, Gabrielle walked out with her natural curls framing her face, full, free, unapologetic. People stared. She didn't shrink. She smiled back. She opened a bank account in her name only, transferred money slowly, what little she'd saved from before Richard, what she quietly set aside from the household account he never checked. It wasn't much, but it was hers, a foundation for whatever came next. She started shopping again, not for Richard's approval, but for herself. Colors, emerald, sapphire, deep burgundy. Heels that made her feel tall. And then one afternoon, browsing on Michigan Avenue, she found the dress. It hung in a boutique window like a promise. Emerald green silk, backless, cut to show strength rather than apologize for curves. She walked inside. The sales associate approached. "Can I help you?" Gabrielle pointed. "That one. I want to try it on." In the dressing room, she slid the dress over her hips, zipped it up, turned to the mirror. The woman staring back was stunning, powerful, unafraid. She touched the silk, ran her hand along her waist. The dress fit like it had been waiting for her. She stepped out. The sales associate's eyes widened. "Oh my God." Gabrielle smiled. "I'll take it." That night, she hung the dress in the back of her closet where Richard wouldn't see it. Not yet. But when the time came, when she was ready to step back into the world that had tried to erase her, she would wear it like armor. She started planning, not revenge. She didn't want to destroy Richard. She just wanted to stop being his secret. Clara came over one evening. They sat on the balcony while Noah played inside. "You're different," Clara observed. Gabrielle sipped her wine. "I'm waking up." "About damn time." Clara grinned. "What's the plan?" "I'm going to the gala." Clara's eyebrows shot up. "Ashford Industries Annual." "Yes." "Does Richard know?" "No." Clara's grin widened. "This is going to be good. I'm not trying to embarrass him." "You don't have to try. Just showing up will do that." Gabrielle smiled. "I just want to be seen." "Then be seen, Queen." They clinked glasses. The gala was 2 weeks away. Gabrielle trained harder, ate better, slept deeper. She didn't tell Richard. He didn't ask. He was too busy. One night, she overheard him on the phone in his office. "Yeah, Victoria's confirmed. We'll arrive together. Press is expecting it." A pause. "No, Gabrielle won't be there. She's private, prefers to stay home." She walked away before she heard more. She already knew everything she needed to know. The night before the gala, Clara took Noah for the weekend. "You focus on you," Clara said, buckling him into his car seat. "I've got him." Gabrielle hugged her tight. "Thank you. Go get your life back." After they left, Gabrielle stood in the empty penthouse. It was quiet, but this time the quiet felt different. It felt like the breath before a storm. She walked to her closet, pulled out the emerald dress, laid it on the bed, stood back and looked at it. Tomorrow she would walk into Richard's world, not as his secret, as herself, whole, visible, undeniable. She smiled, and for the first time in years, it wasn't for anyone else. It was for her. But what Gabrielle didn't know yet was that tomorrow wouldn't just change her life. It would change everything. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do isn't to fight back. It's simply to exist, loudly, beautifully, unapologetically, in the space where someone tried to erase you. And that's when she realized it wasn't just about the dress. It was about the woman brave enough to wear it. What happens when a woman who's been made invisible steps into the light? What happens when the secret Richard Ashford tried to hide walks through those gala doors? Stay with us, because this story is just beginning. And trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. Do you believe some people are meant to stay hidden? Or does everyone deserve to be seen? Tell us in the comments. And if you've made it this far, subscribe to True Spark Stories for more tales that will touch your heart and keep you thinking long after the screen goes dark. Because the best stories aren't just told, they're felt.